Hi, I'm Dr. Walter Crooks. And what I have to say to you about fibromyalgia might shock you. Fibromyalgia is not a muscle problem. Now let me repeat that. Fibromyalgia is not truly a muscle problem. Now why do I say that? Well, just think of this. You probably had fibromyalgia for a year, 5 years, maybe over a decade. And all that time they've been giving you medicine for what? For muscle pain. Well, if fibromyalgia was a muscle problem, don't you think by now that muscle pain medicine would have fixed you? I would think so. See, the problem is that people treat what they see symptom-wise, and they don't look for anything else. The newest research out, and there's a whole lot of it, says that the fibromyalgia is a brain problem. And not just a brain problem with chemicals, no. An electrical problem in the brain. In scientific terms, this is called a functional disconnection syndrome. Here, let me explain it like this. Watch this pointer on the screen. What we have here is the cerebellum. It's what controls muscle movement, initiates our thoughts, it does other things. Now the cerebellum is going to fire up into the brain, which in turn fires down to the lower brainstem right here, which in turn will fire back up to the upper brainstem, this area right here, and inhibit its output. And the upper brainstem is nearly all of our problems when it's talking about fibromyalgia. You will think about the upper brainstem as a juvenile delinquent, and the parents are the cerebellum and the brain. If the parents are functioning properly, the juvenile delinquent is going to act somewhat responsibly and do as the parents tell him. However, if the parents, that's the cerebellum here and the brain, are not functioning properly, well, that juvenile delinquent, well, he's going to do anything he wants. And usually that's detrimental to you in this situation and to your health. Now, so how do we know that the brainstem is what does this? Well, research. One of the things that upper brainstem does, it times your sleep cycles. And people with fibromyalgia have a difficult time going to sleep or even staying asleep. The other thing it does, it constricts your pupils. Now, people with fibromyalgia oftentimes, so often have problems with light sensitivity. They go out of the room, go out into the sun, got to put their sunglasses on. Go into a room that's regularly lit, that doesn't bother anybody else. Whoa, it's too much light here. It bothers them too much. Now, the next part of the brain we're going to talk about is the halves of the brain left and right. Each person has that. We have a right side of our brain and a left side of our brain. When they're working optimally together, everything functions properly. Now, the right side of the brain, it's your sad brain. It's what gives you that gloom and doom, depression. The left part of the brain, that's your happy brain. It's kind of like got a happy face stuck on it all the time. Well, what happens in people with fibromyalgia a lot of times is that left brain starts to decrease its function as the right brain is staying here or even getting hyper-functional. And when that happens, that right brain becomes dominant. Then all of a sudden you start having sadness, depression, that gloom and doom set in that I was talking about. Now the next area of the brain we're going to talk about is the area called Wernicke's area. Now Wernicke's area is located in the left side of the brain, and it's important in communication. It's area 44. What it does is it processes information that comes in. So you could hear someone and you could understand what they're trying to tell you. Well, people with fibromyalgia, you might have to tell them a lot of times what you're saying to them before they'll understand what you're saying or ask them to do, or they can comprehend what's going on. Now the next part of the brain that we're talking about is the left part of the brain in the front of it called Broca's area, area 22. Now that has to do with language also. And what it does, it lets people communicate from themselves to someone else. Well, with people with fibromyalgia, this has a hard time doing that a lot of times. Because I don't know if you realize this, or somebody might tell you, or you might think this sometimes about yourself, that the words are right on the tip of your tongue, you just can't get them out, and it happens so often. Well, that's Broca's area, not allowing that to happen because it's not functioning properly. Now, between those two parts of the brain is a little freeway there. Now, that's called the arcuate fasciculus. Well, we'll just call it a little highway. Now, we're going to explain how that works like this. Think of a highway that goes from one city to another, and all of a sudden it has damage on it. Well, what happens to the cars? Well, they can't get through, or they go by real slow. Well, the same thing happens to the brain. Now the information from Wernicke's area has to fire to Broca's area, and it gets all tangled up inside. Maybe slowed down, maybe it doesn't get there at all. And that might be when a person with fibromyalgia might just come in a room, start talking to you, and then just lose what they were talking about. to be like, what was I just saying? What was I talking about? Just like that. Now, some of the newest research out also says that what causes all this is an autoimmune attack on your body. Now, there are hundreds of autoimmune conditions and syndromes that could go on. Some of them haven't even been named. There's no name for them. But it could attack, and what autoimmune means, it means that you attack yourself. You could be having antibodies attacking your brain, your thyroid, your pancreas, even your insulin. So let's say you have an autoimmune attack on your thyroid. Well, when the thyroid starts getting messed up, you can start having depression, lose your train of thought like that, and also have problems losing weight, and also get brain fog. Sounds a lot like fibromyalgia, doesn't it? Now, another part of this is blood sugar. Blood sugar plays an important role in brain because the blood sugar is not functioning. If you're not having a level blood sugar, it makes the nerves unstable and it destables the nervous system. So we need to test all that. And I know you're probably asking, well, how are you going to help me? What makes you different than everybody else? Well, what makes me different is I get to the root of the problem. I don't just look at you as a diagnosis. I treat the person, not the diagnosis. And what I mean by that is we're going to go in and find out what is causing these symptoms of fibromyalgia. Not just because it's called fibromyalgia, well then let's give you some Lyrica or some Cymbalta. Like I said, it's not a muscle problem. So we're going to run some tests on you. First set of tests we're going to run on you, we're going to run a food protein reactivity test. If you're reactive to some of the foods you're eating and your immune system gets turned on when that happens, it causes inflammation in your whole body. And that screws up the whole system. The brain becomes inflamed, causing you to have all these symptoms. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a full blood chemistry analysis, complete. Now I know you're saying, well, doc, I've already had my blood chemistry done and it's normal. Well, let me tell you, if your blood chemistry was normal, then why do you have fibromyalgia? We're not looking for normal. We're looking for optimal. We're looking for really tight numbers in there because what we want to find out is what is going on in your system to making you all screwed up like this. Then we're also going to run an autoimmune panel because autoimmune trumps all that other stuff. It trumps the glucose. It trumps your thyroid. It trumps everything because if you have an autoimmune process, it's screwing the whole system up. So we want to find out if you're attacking your nerves, if you're attacking your brain, what part of the brain? Your cerebellum, your oligodendrocytes, whatever part of the brain it is, we want to find out. We want to get to the root of the problem. I will leave no stone unturned in my search for the answer to what is going on in your body. If you'd like to get some information on our next fibromyalgia free workshop, well, just fill out this form here and we'll get the information to you. There's one definition of an insanity that I like. Doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result. Thank you for your time.